Salutations, my children. I probably delete this. This is not even like a joke or it's not. Maybe if I say something in it. If you're a person who has spent a lot of time on the internet like I have, I'm sure you've come across this particular meme format / joke. It's the whole smart kid when he gets 99% versus like me who barely passed for the whole class who got like 60. With the smart kid being depicted by some entity or thing that's like freaking out and is losing its mind, whereas the rest of the class or the people who got like a lower grade or more average grade are just like chilling. These are obviously general exaggerations that are made for comedic effect. I'm a person like everyone else. I'm entertained by these jokes whenever I come across them. They are typically worth the nostril exhale that they produce. The reason I personally laugh is not coming from the same gaze as most other people. You see, I laugh because I was precisely that guy. I was a nerd who would seriously challenge the teacher over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% over a grade on an assignment or a test that I pretty much already aced. I can laugh and see the irony now because I can see how ridiculous I probably seemed to other people who were just happy to pass. Or perhaps wanted some time with the teacher themselves so that they could lobby for a pass to begin with. Did I have any shame? Oh, I didn't have any shame. And I still don't, to be honest. What is it that makes a person literally lose themselves and their better judgment and almost in many ways self-dignity over optimizing a grade that is already really good to begin with? Through some retrospection, I believe I have found the probable answer to this question. You see, inside all of us, I believe that there is a deep desire to dominate and win. Some people could say that, I'm not competitive, I'm just, happy to compete with myself or some shit. But in my opinion, I just see that as you just lying to yourself. Everyone has to be at least somewhat competitive, at least in areas that don't really get a lot of observation from other people in terms of competition. You see, growing up I was fortunate to have at least one thing going for me, which was that I was always a really solid academic performer. I wasn't athletic, nor was I popular, or nor did I have any outstanding performing talent. At least that's what I told myself. I think I always knew deep down that I could always at least be half decent at something I really set my mind to, which is now what I do believe to be true. But for a long time, being like the smart one in class was one of the pretty much only outlets aside from other things like, maybe a couple of video games I was good at feeling like, the guy. For a long time, up until probably to the end of school, my main motivation was not just to get a good grade. It was to get the best grade. And this was all me. This wasn't like my parents telling me, oh, you need to get the best in class. No, I wanted to be the best in my class, the best in my friend group, the best in the grade, whatever the case may be. I never always got that, but it never stopped me from trying. And I became damn good at trying. Some people might say this is a toxic way of going about life. If you keep comparing yourself to others, you will never feel satisfied by yourself. There's always someone better than you. Just compare yourself to how you were yesterday. To be honest, that spiel never worked for me personally. I like and have always liked specifically comparing myself against others that were somewhat comparable with me in a realistic sense, whether they were clearly better than me or not. In fact, I tend to focus on people that are only really comparable to me or even like somewhat better than me. Thing I can strive to. I don't really care for people who obviously have a big disadvantage to me. This toxic view of the world has helped me to become a better person than I would be if I just compared myself to how I was yesterday. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but it isn't enough. I mean, hell, how would you know that you would need to improve if you only use yourself as a reference point? At some point, realistically, you gotta like look around and see, okay, something's wrong here. I need to improve myself quick. Is there something that I can improve? I admit, I have obsessed myself in some really stupid competitions over the years, anything from like, I'm just having fun with the boys, or like I need to like dominate and crush everyone. And they weren't always mutually exclusive. From Pokemon Showdown to Smash Brothers to Fortnite to imaginary games based on like made up logic that like we just create after school to pass the time. These games, I wasn't always good. I always liked trying to sweat and trash talk, even when I knew it would backfire on me in like a couple seconds later. It was fun. I can't help it. But like my good academic performance, immaturity can lead to you doing some of the best things you can possibly do for yourself. I'm someone who's fairly strong. I'm 19. I'm someone who's fairly strong than like most like other people who are like my age at this point. I confidently say that, especially with the whole war and masculinity shit going on. And I'm not saying that to make like some kind of flex, because like most guys who start lifting weights and getting in shape, there is a villain story of sorts behind it. I never built long-term habits of grinding on the first try or the first decision, like, okay, this is the moment where I'm gonna start lifting weights and I'm gonna be stronger than everybody. Like, nah. Guys who are 1 point skinny and weak and end up becoming chads usually have their own villain story. Maybe they were bullied in school, maybe they didn't like how they look. Maybe it was like some girl that they tried to get and they couldn't get, or maybe, there's a girl that like left them or something and they started going to the gym. Whatever the case may be. You know what it was for me? I made a friend in grade 10. He's a short guy, admittedly, and he's not like wide or anything, but he is surprisingly strong. Like you would never like realize that just by looking at him at first glance, but like he's strong. He's just naturally strong. I don't know. It's one of the things that I still can't. And that's something I actually learned the hard way. One day we were like effing around in probably like English class or something. Right? The teacher didn't come in class, or maybe she was late, or maybe she just wasn't at school, something. The girl I liked at the time was sitting like right beside us. May have even been Valentine's Day. My guy wanted to arm wrestle. I had seen him do it with some other guys who didn't really look strong either, but I just knew that this guy liked to arm wrestle for some reason, because I had seen him do it many times before with other people. I wasn't really interested, but I just said, frick it, and did it because I was bored and I was unoccupied at the time. Man, I got toasted. I ain't gonna lie. Less than a second. It wasn't even close. And I was trying, laughing and bewildered. My friend could not even believe that I was actually trying, or that I actually tried to win. Instead of roasting and like bewilderment, he said, bro, are you actually trying? I said, yeah, I was actually trying. He literally said, alright, he put up 2 fingers and he said, okay, arm wrestle me with I'm gonna use 2 fingers, you gonna use your whole hand and we'll see. So this is like the strength of like my whole arm at the time versus like this one guy's like 2 fingers. I probably overestimated how strong I was again. I ended up losing against him again with only 2 fingers, and after I got roasted, I got kind of pissed as I go again with the 2 fingers, and I barely won that time. Like I won because I was like actually trying that time, because I was getting roasted. Embarrassingly, I won. I was weak. My motivation at the time was so that I could compete with my friend in terms of strength. Not that I could like fight him or like beat him up or something, because like, well, he's my friend, why do I want to do that? But just the fact that like, nah bro, there's no way you are like the same age as me and I'm that much weaker than you. Like I can't live like that. It was a huge wake up call. I was probably the weakest in like my friend group at the time. The same day I went home and like killed like 5 push-ups. Okay, I didn't kill them. I struggled through 5 push-ups and did not have proper push-up form. My range of motion was like this. I made some declaration in the course of that week. Within 3 months, I would surpass him. With complete ignorance and no knowledge of how muscle development and strength development actually works and what is like a realistic goal for 3 months for an absolute beginner. I was serious. Of course, I never made this deadline, but I certainly got stronger. If this guy was Goku, I was gonna at least try and be a Vegeta, you know what I'm saying? Like that was my mindset, if this guy was like Messi, then I had to be Ronaldo. Like I had to be, at least Ronaldo. Just like the morning I wrote the script of this video, I did 140 like proper military push-ups, like proper form in less than 7 minutes. I can do like around 60 push-ups in one set in like one go, just for fun, if I just want to like, get a sweat on or something. If it's damn push-ups, I can do 40. I can do a 5-minute plank. And all this success is because I let myself become obsessed with some meaningless form of competition. Competition is literally one of the greatest motivators you can use. The way to do it, in my opinion, is to like use others to set a long-term goal, and then you compare it with yourself just to let you know that you're going in the right direction. Seeing like the success of others and like using that envy you feel deep down is like powerful motivation. Don't lie to yourself, right? You feel like a sense of envy when you see someone that is like maybe your age or like your background, like doing really, really well for themselves, but you're just like, chugging along normally. There's no shame in that once you know what to do with that feeling. Most people who don't want to be like complete assholes just, rationalize it out in their heads and just move on without their day and don't really make any changes or like try and really accelerate their growth as a person. Others, like, especially if it's like a celebrity, take like social media and like nitpick everything wrong this person is doing, and it has nothing to do with their success. I'm not jealous. I just think that they could have done this better, or I just don't like when they said this. I don't have to say that the latter path is like depictive of a weak and garbage mindset, and that like no one should ever like waste their time doing something like that. It is literally the definition of a hater. But the reality is both of these options are technically copes, because They are not addressing the elephant in the room. You feel self-conscious. What are you going to do about it? What I've learned is that these feelings cannot go away no matter what, no matter who you compare yourself to. If you know deep down that you are on an upward trajectory and you are making like long-term plans for yourself in the future. Sometimes there's nothing necessarily wrong with your life and what you're doing, especially when you measure up against like the typical metrics of like success and like advancing and like becoming a person in life. By all typical measurements, you know, you're chilling. You have a job, you're doing well in school, you're getting good grades, you're, you know, you have a social life, you know, you're getting into leadership positions. So why is it that deep down sometimes, maybe I'm just talking for myself from a personal experience, but why is it that sometimes like we still feel like this deep like envy deep down when we see other people just completely crushing it and like getting like everything that they ever want? You know, we don't have any like beef with them and people that we may even admire. It's because you're not fulfilled. And what fulfills people is typically not like an event that is like the sign of success. It's not like, okay, I have like $1 million, or okay, I have like 1 million subscribers now. It's really the process of getting that $1 million, of getting like this amount of subscribers, of going after your goals that fulfills people and lets them know, okay, I'm increasing my standings in like the social hierarchy. When you're occupied in this way, you are fully in the thrill of competition of life and too occupied to like rationalize your own shortcomings or discredit the success of others. You know, I can't really complete this video without like mentioning like, you know, the World Cup.
The found out some work on this later. The know nothing about football and I come share some sides. The found
in which people get their like competitive fixing as well is through like watching sports. It's one thing to like watch like your local sports team or the sports team of your school or the sports team of your like your local town or church and support them. But the truth is, the higher up you go in like the sports ladder, which means the more entertaining it becomes, the harder it is to justify saying we, but at the same time, the easier it becomes to actually just say we. Even if you just so happen to be one of the few people whose hometown or city is home to like an NBA franchise or European football club, you have to admit that the people who are actually representing your team have nothing to do with the place you're from. Yet the victory and defeat of these teams and of these people, these millionaires that we don't even know, can severely like impact our own emotional state. Because I'm guilty of this. I'm not one of those people that just watches football when World Cup is around. I support a European football club and I say things like we when they win. And although I've reached a point in maturity where like a loss or a win doesn't really affect me at all more than like maybe a couple minutes, if as much, after the game is done. I, like all sports fanatics and diehards, have allowed myself to become sunken too deep into sports entertainment. You know, I ain't gonna lie, I've done some goofy ass crap over the years. You know, like cry when your team loses. Come on, man. Like, if you have never cried over a sports game, you're not a true fan of that sport. You're not a true fan of that sport. Obviously, this is just like when I was a kid and I was like really young, you know? That kind of thing is immature, really and truly. The same logic applies kind of to the World Cup depending on what country you come from. If you come from a country whose national team did, or at least historically qualifies for the World Cup, then this probably doesn't apply to you. But the country I come from is not like that. Only once in 1998 have they made it. But if you think that takes even like a drop of the joy of watching World Cup in Jamaica, then my friend, you are sorely mistaken. You see, once every 4 years we change our national flag to this. There are some Protestants to the dogma, you know, it's all in good fun. Both types of people are like, you know, very funny to be around this time. On one hand, you have like the people who are like diehard supporters of countries, like countries, man. I know that they're just like fans of like the players and like the football team itself, but I just find it funny like when people like take the literal national flag and put it on their car or put it in the office or like put it on social media or some crap. Like, that is kind of funny, man. Like, come on. Then you have the opposite, which is like the bandwagon fans. These guys piss off the diehards so much. But you don't pledge allegiance to a country you've never been to and know nothing about. Blasphemy. But then it's like they know they're not committed, but then they like kind of pretend they are in a way. Until all of a sudden, I was never a fan of that team anyway. It's that kind of thing. All of this is just a cultural thing, and at the end of the day, it just makes for some nice entertainment and some good fun. But again, the way people obsess themselves over a game over which they have no control over and really nothing to gain unless they bet is in fact fascinating to say the least, and is at least very telling of how we use competition between ourselves to define ourselves. I wouldn't say this personality is like dangerous. Worst, it's probably just, you know, a distraction, and at best it's like fun. Just don't be one of those people whose whole personality is like, you know, which side them bring. You will realize quickly how stupid an idea it is to link your emotions and like your feeling of like fulfillment to things you have no control over. You know, you're just like the monkey in the corner, you know, with the flag on and the shirt and like crying over a football game or something. Use that energy to build up yourself. Or heck, maybe just become like one of the pro athletes yourselves, like if you're like, you know, the athletic type. So don't be a hateful prick, but also don't just be like, oh, I'm happy for them. Be inspired and then like low-key kind of pissed that you're not fulfilling your potential. And then just compete. Peace.